I remember this one moment where I saw John. I've never asked this question. I'm going to ask John this question. I never had the people. There's a moment when
you have to submit a question. You have to submit. It has to go through the cutting.
It has to go at the bottom here.
I mean, outrageous.
Welcome, friends and fans, to another episode of GalaxyCon Live, where we are bringing the convention experience directly to you. And today, we are going back to the middle of nowhere with 4 amazing guests from Courage the Cowardly Dog. So without further ado, let's dig a hole in the middle of nowhere and see what we find in today's episode. Our first guest is an actor whose credits include The Bug Diaries, Peter Pan, and Neverwinter Nights 2. Today he joins us as the voices of the Cajun Fox, Freaky Fred, Cats, La Quack, the Goose God, Dr. Vindaloo, and the Snowman. Please welcome Paul Scheffler.
Oh, I feel like I need an orchestra.
Begin an entrance. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good, thank you. Really excited to be here.
Very glad to have you. Very glad to have you. And I am a big fan of that version of Peter Pan you did.
Oh, thank you.
It was really good. Hook is one of the roles that I've never gotten the opportunity to, but it's still on my equity bucket list.
It is the ultimate excuse for bad behavior, and
Yes.
And that's why I had so much fun with it. my version was Darth Vader meets Monty Python. That's how I viewed it. So you know,
That's
all the things that I was punished for as a kid. Now I get to do on stage for a living. So there you go.
Hi ho hee, actor's life for me. Well, indeed. Well, thanks for joining us here today, sir. Hope the new year is treating you well.
Thank you. We're all doing good. Thank you so very much.
We're all well. Glad to have you here in good health and in good spirits.
Yeah, I'm good. All good.
Indeed. And our next guest, she is an actress whose credits include Pecola and Scooby-Doo. Today she joins us as the voice of Muriel. Please welcome Thea White.
Hello. I'm in good spirits too, and I'm in good health too. And how are you?
Well, I am doing very well in my corner of the world. I am glad to see you are doing well in yours.
Yes. Where is your corner of the world?
I'm in Orlando.
Really?
Well, bless my heart. So you're avoiding all this snow and sleet and ice and all the fun stuff.
It's a 70 degrees outside right now, and
Shut up.
but it's
I'm-
raining.
yeah,
It's raining. It's raining a little bit.
Yeah. I'm
But-
not sure I'm going to talk to you in here.
But yeah, you know, it's like my day job at the Attractions and Equity Actor, and there's no equity work to be had because of COVID and everything else. So yeah, indeed. But Thea, I just have to ask this. In reading up on everybody beforehand, you worked with Marlene Dietrich for a while.
Well, actually, my husband was her drummer and traveled the world with her on and off for 11 years. And one day, God love her, she said to me, I was a camp follower because, you know, I was in love with my husband, obviously.
And he was a very accomplished drummer.
Oh my goodness, he was wonderful. He was the go-to drummer in London for many years when they were recording everything in London. But one day we were in Connecticut, I think, and she said to me, "Dear darling, I have an extra ticket to Australia. Do you like to go?" I said, yeah, I'd like to go. I said, "You will be my dresser, darling." You know what I had to do? I had to run and throw flowers on the stage. I had to start the applause at the right time. Oh, I was a very busy girl running forth and back, but she was very good to me. And she always had a scotch in a ginger ale bottle. And she would say to her assistant, "Give dear a little stupa," which is German for I don't know. I hope I didn't say anything amiss. It must be a German sip of whiskey. Oh dear. But my husband, well, you know, of course, you know, he was the one. They didn't trust Ringo Starr because he had just joined the Beatles, and the producer had used Andy a lot, Andy White. Look him up on Google if you want, you'll see. And so he is the drummer on Please Please Me, P.S. I Love You, and Love Me Too. That is my husband, Andy White.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you didn't know that, Paul.
No, I didn't know that. Amazing.
I told you
Amazing.
20 years ago, isn't it? And he played for Tom Jones. He played for
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a huge Tom Jones fan.
busy boy.
Yeah, it's that's yeah. There's a slew of studio musicians that that they in the recording. Yeah, drummers and bassists and the whole 9 yards. There's several documentaries about them, and it's fascinating because a lot of them were okay with it. They were musicians. They didn't necessarily want to be rock stars.
And you know that I have always thought that the most unselfish performers of all are musicians. To be in an orchestra, say, of 35 people or 40 or however many, and you're not a star, you're just one of the team. Not just, I shouldn't say that, but I mean, they're not asking to shine or be acknowledged. They just want to make beautiful music. And my Andy certainly did contribute big time to that.
He did. He absolutely did. And speaking of beautiful things, our next actor is a credits include Law and Order, Wonder Shows It in Third Watch. Today joins us as the voice of our favorite pink pooch, Courage. Please welcome Marty Grabstein.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's here. It's here. What's happening? Am I pushing too much, Patty? Am I pushing too hard?
Not at all. Not at all. The more. Hey, the more.
Out of the screen. And
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, leave a little bit left in the tank, right? Don't they say that, Paul? Right?
This is America. I'm not sure about that anymore. More is more.
How you doing, Patty? God bless.
I am good, Marty. How you holding up?
I'm holding up great. I'm doing great. I lost 20 pounds, and I'm working out. I'm doing actually working out, stretching exercises, and I can now touch the floor while I'm standing up. I can reach down and touch the floor with my fingers, something I wasn't able to do, before the pandemic. So thank you to the pandemic for that. I just thought I'd make that.
Bend your knees and you do that.
A lot of people made some lemonade out of all these lemons that 2020 gave us.
Yes. Right.
New pastimes, revisiting, getting themselves a little back into shape. Personally, my resolution for 2021 was to lose the COVID weight I gained in 2020, and I'm still working on that. But okay.
And I worked on Blacklist. I got a job. I did a scene on Blacklist just a week ago. So
Nice.
It's in a couple of years. This is shameless self-promotion. I can do that.
I said that's what it.
Shameless.
Nobody does it better, darling.
If not me, then whom? Right? That's
Exactly.
the thing.
Marty, I've been a big admirer of yours a long time. I'm glad to finally get a chance to talk with you and your peers. And welcome to the GalaxyCon virtual stage.
Thank you, Patty.
And finally, the madman behind Courage the Cowardly Dog. He is an animation director whose body of work includes Doug, Sesame Street, and numerous independent animation projects. Today, though, he joins us as the creator of Courage the Cowardly Dog. Please welcome John Dilworth.
Hello, everyone. Very happy to be here. Thank you all. Thank you all for having me. And pardon me, I had a little accident. It's such a thrill. Thank you, Galaxy. Thank you all the supporters and friends for inviting me, having me on to share this this wonderful moment. I know we're celebrating the voice talents of the show, and I really want to do that, of course. And at some point, we should talk about those that are not here with us. That
Of course.
also, and we can go over that later, of course. Wonderful personalities, talents that help make this show so special, including our own esteemed guests here. So thank you all.
Absolutely. Well, John, thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure as always to meet a fellow SVA alumni.
Oh, pardon me. I had another error. Oh, I didn't know that. Pardon me. You were an SVA. Oh, wonderful. I should have done my homework.
You were no. I got there a couple of years after you had gone, so I was there from '89 to '92. So yeah, because I just paid off my student loans about 3 years ago. So yeah, that's
congratulations. Right. Congratulations. It took me a decade.
Actually, that's about how long it did well too. But you obviously though excelled in what you actually went there for. And anyway, the whole point of the matter is that you've had a really solid career in animation, and I really appreciated how you you had you were doing day work, but you were still putting out your own independent work, and that's a lot to juggle. You know, doing animatics storyboards in the day, and then coming back home at night and doing your shorts or whatever. And that was the evolution of Courage for our audience. Tell us how it started.
Oh, I don't want to occupy too much time on these details, but Courage was really started with seriously one of these.
Yeah,
right. So anybody can do it. I mean, and anyone. I hope there will be many in our audience that will also do exactly what I did and better.
Oh well, you certainly raised the bar. So now Courage began as a spinoff from a short you did for Liquid Television. Did I?
No. The Chicken from Outer Space was a short film all on its own.
Okay.
And we were looking for funding, and because we had just finished the Dirty Birdie, what Carl Cohen calls an underground classic. And I mean, even today, that short, for whatever reason, continues to mystify and make people laugh. And I think that's what we were aiming at on Courage. So The Chicken from Outer Space was a short film, black and white, sci-fi, and we were broke. How were we going to produce it? At the very time, there was a very smart cat named Fred Seibert shopping around for material for a new program at Hanna-Barbera, now defunct, but everybody knows the names because a multi-award Oscar-winning cartoon studio. And so Fred came over, looked at the stuff, put me in touch with Ellen Cockrell, who was my development executive. We made changes. The original short was just going to be in black and white. It had a shotgun. Eustace at the time was shooting at Courage, but they couldn't have that on cartoons. So the mask was replaced. So there it is.
I guess it works. So let me ask some of these members of this amazing voice talent that you brought onto the show. Who got involved with Courage first?
Marty.
Actually,
right?
I don't know, John.
I don't know either.
Who was first?
The casting occurred 20 years ago or more.
Who could remember?
I dare anyone to remember who was cast first.
Well, then, instead of actors, how about this? Then, how did the process go? Like Marty.
I'm going to say I was cast first. How about
All
that?
right, Marty, tell us about that.
We'll correct it.
How did you meet this guy, and how did you end up doing the voice?
Listen, to this very day, this guy here I am so grateful, at the risk of sounding, so, almost nauseatingly humble, but I am legitimately so grateful to this guy for really thinking out of the box. Apparently, I got a call from a friend of mine who, Risa Neuwirth, God bless her. And she called me up. She knew I was kind of still in the business, banging around, doing theater here and there, comedy, etc. And she said, I'm working for this guy, John Dilworth, and he has been listening to voice actors all over the city. I think she said both coasts. I'm not sure, John. But she said this guy has been listening to some of the best voiceover, most experienced voiceover artists in the city. Can't quite decide upon the lead character's voice, Courage, from Courage the Cowardly Dog, which was the name of the show. So why don't you come in? Who the heck knows? Maybe something will happen here. It can't hurt. So I said, great. I went in, met John, and within a couple of minutes, there was already something going on. He was laughing. He was getting a kick. He was going, he was doing that kind of stuff. Maybe not exactly like that, but something like that. And at a certain point, he said, this is great. This is great. Okay, so I was kind of doing it. I swear it sounded like Jackie Mason, I think. And I was kind of doing it like that. And he goes, that was really funny. But okay, how about this, Marty? Try it where you take your natural, ridiculously gravelly, scratchy voice and pitch it up here like this. Go like that. And I said, okay. And he goes, that's it. That's it. We got it. We got it. All right. I think this is great. And we tried a few more things, and it was like, All right, I got to run it by my superiors, and but I'm game for this. So, and that's how it happened. I never had any voiceover experience at all. I think I told it correctly, right, John?
Stunned silence.
It was all a lie, Daddy.
Okay. Truth, lie, whatever.
I made that up. No, that was really the story. That was how it happened. It was very exciting for me.
Q&A is not question and answer, it's question and anecdote. And if you got a good anecdote, it works.
That's right. Right? See what I told you? I told you the other day. Don't worry about it. Tell your stories. Doesn't matter. Whatever it is. I'm exhausted from this already.
Thea, how did you get involved?
Wow. It's very interesting how Marty and I have Risa in common, because I had been an actress for many, many years. And then when I married Andy, then we have a musician and an actress. Who's going to pay the mortgage? So I went to work for a library. And then I got a call from a Scottish bagpiper who has a fish and chip shop. And he's a brilliant bagpiper. And so they called him. And then he's called Mr. Scotland. Everybody refers to him as Mr. Scotland because he's like a professional Scot, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And he said, I don't know anybody who can do a Scottish accent, but I know somebody who might know somebody. I said, what on earth do you mean you don't know anybody? So bold as brass, I called Risa and I said, I don't know anybody except me who has a mature voice and can do a Scottish accent. I think she was somewhat taken aback, and I don't know what made me so bold. But anyway, she said, well, all right, why don't you come in and audition? I didn't even know enough to say, Slate, like Marty, I had never done voiceover work. It was all live theater. So the casting director said, say your name. I said, oh, Thea White. And I read the script. And Mr. Dilworth, God bless him, threw his hands in the air and he said, oh, she's got a character. I mean, it was very similar to, anyway, and so I had to audition again, just the same anyway, even though I had a character, but I got it, and I did it, and I had more fun than anybody should be allowed to have. It should be illegal, actually. It should be by pulling out your
shy and demure people who are not in any way outspoken. It's really
that brings us to you, sir. How did all these characters start for you?
Well, I went into an audition at Don Case, and they were looking for the character of Katz, which was this really like sophisticated looking character. And I just said, maybe I'll try the voice of James Mason for this character. It felt right. And if anyone knows, as an old British actor, he used to talk like this. He had a very beautiful voice like this, So I did that, and John cast me on the basis of that. And so I came in and did the episode, and I thought, well, that was great. That was fun. But to echo Marty, I was so taken with John's sort of playful, exuberant. It gives you permission to act out and be creative and be silly and fun. So I just started goofing around in the studio while we were doing all this. And John said, wait a minute, what else can you do with these voices? So I started going through all these accents and all these things. So that's how the relationship started with John. And he just kept handing me stuff and said, try this. And they didn't all work out, but a whole bunch of them did. They'd say, go away and bring back 4 or 5 choices of voice for this. And I'd come back and I'd spend hours away working on them. And he would go, no, not that. They're going to go that voice. And that's how we ended up getting all these different characters that I got to do on the show like that. So there you are.
And he was wonderful. Tell us how many you did, my darling, if you would.
Well, I don't know, honestly. I mean, I know the main characters I did were probably 9 or so, but I did a lot of little things like Everybody Wants to Direct, which was a funny story because both the characters in that were dead. And they kept saying, John kept saying to me, I would do this thing with my voice. It was like, you don't sound dead enough. can you sound more dead? And I was lucky enough to be doing a show on Broadway at the time, and I was just shredding my chords. I'm going, I'm gonna have no voice tonight. And so it went on and on and on, and I walked out of there like I could barely speak. But I sounded dead enough, apparently, because it got done.
Well,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know the answer to your question. I don't know, because I did a lot of
the chair recognizes the creator.
It's a wonderful entry into this remembrance of Peter Fernandez, who is our voice director. Peter and I sat together and went through all 104 episodes for every line. And Peter Fernandez was Tarantella, Paul's director, dead director. And in Everyone Wants to Direct. And Peter Fernandez, he did a lot of voices for us as well. And he was a child actor. And he had come up at the same time with Orson Welles. You know, he knew all these people. And he was an amazing delight. I think he inspired the talent to do even better than we hear. So that's Peter Fernandez.
Speed Racer, right?
Yeah, Speed Racer, right?
He also did Speed Racer, but you know, he had a big career around that.
In that episode where he was in the tree.
Oh yes, he was a Magic Tree of Nowhere, and that was wonderful because we just recorded his mouth, and it was just like this, right? And we put it into the tree, and I had seen that technique done in a very early cartoon series.
Clutch Cargo.
Yes, it was a low budget thing, and you know, you just see the live action mouth just floating around.
Yes. We had one of the voice talents that the lady that did the modeling for Tinkerbell. She did all the female voice. Her husband was the producer of Clutch Cargo and Space Angel. So I got a chance to talk to her about that whole project. And I had to run a clip from it because you should try to explain it, but it's something you just got to show people, otherwise they never believe you.
I routinely mined media that I loved. For instance, I forget the name of a video game where it had a rapper dog that when he turned around, he was paper thin. And I just stole it for King Ramses. And, you know, the way King Ramses was moving, it was just, it was that.
Is that Poe Rapper the Rapper?
Yeah. You know everything. Maybe too much. You may know too much.
That's how I got this job.
Dangerous. You're dangerous, sir.
It's research.
You know,
it's not research, it's remembrance. It's just I accumulated all this stuff over the years. But no, absolutely. Yeah. Please go ahead, Marty.
Peter Fernandez, just one more on Peter Fernandez. For me personally, and I'm sure I could speak for the others as well, that, you know, he was the vocal director, because John was doing like everything. Like he was in 8 different places at once and just working endlessly. So some of the times, you know, it would just be Peter fulfilling John's, you know, vision of what he wanted vocally. And he was just there day in, day out. And he somehow managed to take something which at times could almost smack of, dare I say it, drudgery at moments, right? Which I think all acting has elements of drudgery to it, because it's work in order to get a finished product, a simple little, you know, innuendo, a little impulse that needs to be just right. Otherwise it's wrong. And especially in this compressed little 11-minute thing. And he was just wonderful at doing that.
Sorry, go ahead, John. Yeah.
No, Paul, please. It's your thing.
Well, I don't know how many people know this who are watching, but it's rare that you get to work with other actors in the studio in animation. I think I did it maybe a couple of times in group scenes, but otherwise you're in a vacuum responding, you know, with one line to a situation that's in your head. So you really have to trust the direction you're getting. And I asked Wayne Knight, whom I knew and worked with, I said, did you do that in Toy Story 2 with Pixar? I mean, it sounds so seamless. Were you guys all in the room together? He's like, no, we all did it individually. And it's a remarkable editing thing to be able to seamlessly put stuff together to make it sound like there's a whole bunch of people just in the same room at the same time. And it's just something that I didn't know until we started this.
It's interesting. It's been an ebb and flow because in the 90s, Batman the Animated Series, they started bringing everybody, the cast in, doing troop style, and you guys did it a year or two, and they're starting to slightly go back to that when they can. So, because of course, it's better. Yeah.
I'm sorry, darling, but I have a question. I may be slightly neurotic. No, but I am totally. Oh no! But I'd love to know how Paul and Marty felt when they, we were in the booth and we couldn't hear them unless they turned their microphones on. So when John and Peter turned their microphones off and talked to each other, and you're in the booth all by yourself, and they're obviously talking about you.
Yeah.
What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong?
At moments, I felt they were saying, "This guy's an idiot."
Well, I defaulted to what every actor would do in that situation. It's like, well, I'm going to be fired. I'm basically.
Yeah. I did something terrible, and that's what they're saying to each other. Isn't she awful? Oh, why did
Why did we cast this guy?
There was one moment, as to what Thea just said, there was one moment in the booth when I literally, all I knew is that I had John's storyboard, some of the sketches of what's going on, to just giving a little bit of a sense of the action, and then just the line. And one of my lines was, It was just that. And there were a lot of those, and whatever it might be, right? So this one was coming where I think my head was poking up out of the ground in some kind of a forest. So Peter was trying to get me to do it where he would say, you're a little bit curious, confused about where you are, but at the same time frightened. No, not curious enough. No, not frightened enough. No. Now you don't sound like Courage. You're losing courage.
Yes.
Went on for, I swear, must have been about 20 takes before that finally happened.
Yeah. I remember him saying, "You've lost the character. You've lost the character."
Well, I all that hard work paid off between your performances, John, you, and the team that you assembled. I think it absolutely shows. Courage was, it was right what was needed at the time. It gave it was a modern cartoon, and it had so much that for me it was just like, wow, I'm seeing a lot of Tex Avery, I'm seeing a lot of Bob Clampett, I'm seeing a lot of respect for old style classic animation and the humor and the irreverence with it for the 21st century. And that to me is what appealed to me so much about it. And just great job, all of you, really.
The music.
Yes, that was a big factor.
Yes.
Absolute big factor on that. So team, let us know. We're going to go on audience questions. So what do you say we switch over? All right.
Don't you think? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, please go ahead.
John needs to say something.
John, I just feel like if we're going to go to Q&A, we should, before we leave this wonderful session, we should at least nod to Lionel Wilson.
I was thinking
and to Simon Preble. And I'm sorry, we have Billy Lou Watt, Mary Testa, Will Ryan, Don Peoples, Ruth Williamson, right? We have Arnold Stang, my God, Jim Cummings,
Peter,
Bob Batone,
Linda Lavin,
Alan Swift. I was in love with these voices, and we sought them out. And if they were in New York, they were in the booth.
God bless
them. And God bless them all. And Arthur Anderson did a great job. We even had Wallace Shawn as a Courage, not a Courage, but a Eustace in the Fog of Courage, Wallace Shawn. So we had a lot of good ones, a lot of great talent.
Absolutely.
A big fan of Wallace. We had him on here a few weeks ago, and he's one of my all-time favorite guests.
Awesome.
Just adore him. Absolutely adore him. Okay, are we ready for audience questions now? All right, let's roll our first one. And this is going to come from Brian, and he wants to know, what was the scariest episode or moment from the series for you?
Anyone?
Does that mean the experience of recording, or do you mean the actual episode itself, which was the scariest episode?
I'll tell you what. Take it either direction you like. If you would think if there's an episode that you thought, even though this is funny, this image or this design is legitimately scary, and if it was pushed to a scary extreme, you may have tipped your scales, or just.
Well, I mean, I can just a quick story was I was telling Marty last night. 'Cause we were talking on the phone. We were doing the Goose God episode, and in the middle of it, they said, "Okay, you sing here," and I went, "What?" They said, "Can you make something up? Can you start singing something?" I went, "You want me to what?" They said, just make something up. Go on, just start singing something. I was like, "Okay, give me a minute. So I just sort of came out. I don't remember what the hell I came up with, but I finally came up with something like, "Yeah, that's good. And I ended up having to do an ASCAP, the union, for having done this little ditty on the show. But I know that moment gave me a moment of panic. I'm like, it's like asking a singer to improv something when they're auditioning something and you can't think of anything. And that's
I'm sorry, Paul, but when I found out, learned that you could sing, dance, below fire, juggle, and I want to use all those talents in your performance, all. And I pardon me if I put you on.
You should give me some morning, prepare something.
It was absolutely Shakespearean. Remember, it was beautifully written, of course, too. Talk about singing. May I tell my scariest moment? Thank you. There was the Valkyries, the Wagner opera.
Oh, yeah.
This one, John Dilworth brings in 2 opera singers, and I'm supposed to be in the booth with 2 opera singers. I felt so out of place. Just kick me home, and it was agonizing.
That was a great one too. That was an incredible one. So much innovation John brought to this whole thing. I mean, just when you thought there was no more innovation, there was always something else, whether it was technical, physical, or philosophical.
He's a little crazy.
Yeah, he's a little, even though you wouldn't know it.
Have to be. We all are. We're all crazy.
Because he always has a banana in his ear. Right?
The scariest episode for me, strangely enough, was a little bit disconcerting for me. It was actually it actually made me feel a little like this, like Freaky Fred was really very almost painful for me at moments. Like, it wasn't just first of all, it's a combination of the actual story and the essence of it. Paul's voice with what looked like some variation on Dilworth's face into it, right? There's some kind of Dilworthish elements to it, albeit, and then the idea being that he's shaving. He's not killing or destroying, he's merely shaving, but with an element of grotesquerie that was just ultimately terribly frightening. And I remember this one moment where I saw John. I've never asked this question. I'm going to ask John this question. I never had the people. There's a moment when
you have to submit a question. You have to submit. It has to go through the cutting.
It has to go at the bottom here.
I mean, outrageous. Wait a minute. I just thought of something. Thea, look at this. A fan sent me the first black little Muriel.
Oh,
look at that. Look at that.
Isn't that
wow. Well, that's Kath Soucie, actually, but Thea, amazing.
Wow, that's crazy. Now, you know what? There was a jar of something like that, where there was some sort of furry thing inside the jar. And I didn't know. What was that jar?
Of what does he speak?
Maybe I imagined it. It's possible.
You'll never know.
Submitted that
question. I'm sorry. I know I'm jumping in again. Please feel free to shut me up. Please feel free. My wife does it all the time. And speaking of my wife, I have a wonderful moment there. You mentioned Little Muriel, and it made me think of Little Muriel. And my wife made an appearance in the episode of Little Muriel. Now, my wife is a registered nurse, still doing it, God bless. And she came to pick me up on one of our, one of my recording sessions, and she came in a little early. And there was a moment where, oh shoot, either the actress didn't come or they realized they didn't actually cast for this one line to be said, and they didn't have an actress that could double up on doing the line. So she said, John said, would you mind doing the line? And it was like, she said, well, I don't know. Come on, it's okay. It's no big deal. Just would you mind just doing the line? And she did. So the line was in Little Muriel. There was Muriel was going up and down, back up and down.
On an airplane.
Flying in an airplane. And this woman gets up and says, I can't take it anymore, and jumps out of the plane. Ah! And that was my wife doing that. So she had never done anything.
Yeah, SAG doesn't allow non-union members to voice on union shows, Marty. So we know that this is an anecdote.
Never happened.
Who says
Makes up stories that Marty.
it's so good? It's a good story. And she is actually has the potential to somebody can get her autograph on this GalaxyCon. Believe this? A
But she
ridiculous.
was
Your agent says her official credit is Parachute Lady.
Parachute Lady is her name, because she appeared 2 other times, but no lines. There were no lines, so she got in trouble for those other 2 episodes. But anyway.
Brian, thank you. It was a great question to start us off with. And let's go ahead and roll another one. And this comes from John, who wants to know, what other cartoon fandom would you like to see Courage have a crossover with?
Well, John, you stumped us all with that one. What other cartoon fandom?
So what other cartoon series would you like to see?
That we all talk together?
Yeah, the characters would combine, like Courage and Scooby-Doo teaming up for a special to something like that.
John, what would you
Can I be really wrong?
You seem to be a knowledgeable
Archer?
cartoon fan. Oh, I'm sorry, Paul. Say. What would you say?
I was being totally wrong. I said Archer.
I'm a big Archer fan.
I would love to.
No, that's not gonna work.
I would like Archer was plunked into the current. What's going on here? What
Phrasing.
I would love to see him to Courage team up with Bugs Bunny.
I was just going to say that.
Bugs Bunny's the man, man.
Wouldn't that be adorable?
It'd be interesting.
Little pink pooch and the little. Is he a gray bunny?
Yes.
Some elements of the humor
and gray
of
love
Looney
together.
Tunes. The old Looney
John,
Tunes.
would that make you happy?
No.
No, not you, John. I meant the John who asked the question.
I-
But we won't do
problem.
it then, darling. Problem. Yes. What's the problem?
Well, John, if you had full, complete creative control,
No.
if you have, just you're good a la carte. That's fair.
I wouldn't suggest that, let's say, any one of our esteemed personalities get mutated or deformed with some other to offer a novelty of the original. I'm happy with the original.
Of course.
Me too. Me too.
And that's absolutely fair. And John, it was a hypothetical question, and there you go. It was perfectly fine. So
Oh, there's a tough one, John. Not you, John. The other John. John who asked the question.
absolutely. All right, what do we have next? This comes from Piastra. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Do you have any tips for aspiring voice actors or creators? And John, I'll say animators.
Well, take it away, voice advice. You're the professionals. I only voiced 104 cartoons. I mean, I only did 104 voices, but I'm not qualified to be a voice actor. Please. And I know this Kevin Piastra. He's a comedian. He's a stand-up comedian. And I like his work a lot. And I guess he's going to move into voice work soon.
All right.
Well, you know, I would,
I would say to any aspiring voice actor, I mean, I am certainly not by any stretch of the imagination an expert in the area of voiceover. I would say probably my friend up there in the middle box, Mr. Paul Scheffler.
Paul Scheffler.
More of a legitimate, like real source. But I would say personally that I think best thing to do is to actually, I would say, take a class. If you're find a voiceover class and play around with the skill of voice acting, because a lot of people think, well, I'm kind of a fun character. I have a lot of voices. That's great, but there's skill involved in voice acting, breathing, and all these little elements of moments where the voice would go up. It's a skill that goes a little beyond just plain old acting, which I'm much more familiar with. But I would say get a class and get a tape, and then put a tape together. No shame if you have no experience. No shame in that. Put together some copy that you might have heard from commercials that you've heard, some animated stuff that you've heard. And I've been told to do this myself, actually, in recent times. Put together a voice tape and play around, keep it under 2 minutes, and then start submitting it. And who knows?
Since nobody has time for anything, 1 minute is good if you're looking for it. But you have to, if you're going to put a tape together, there's like a commercial tape, and then there's going to be an animated tape of all the different voices that you can do. From the commercial point, somebody gave me the advice once. It's like, watch commercials and see where your voice sits in. Can you do cars, perfume? Are you going to do bug spray? Women's products? I mean, your voice is going to find some area where it sits. And then for the animated stuff, I would just play with as many different voices and characters and accents that you can think of. And I just copied a lot of what I heard from Bugs Bunny and Mel Blanc and all those great, great actors.
I agree. Paul,
that's how you go.
One thing we didn't talk about is that I considered you my Mel Blanc. I was so grateful to have you come on the show because I knew, and it was a joy because we modeled a lot of Courage, the production of Courage, off Termite Terrace, especially the writing room. And when you came on, I just said to myself, I found my Mel Blanc. And I could say to this amazing guy, listen, Paul, we have this character. We have no idea. Oh, my God. And you can do interpretation, impersonation. Anybody I wanted, you did. So
it's just goofing around. It's just goofing around. And there are a lot of people who can do that.
More than going to a class and learning to hit your notes.
Well, I mean, I wanted to be a classical actor and ended up doing all kinds of things I never thought I'd do. And so you play around and find out what you're capable of. It's
to Paul Scheffler, my friends, to Paul Scheffler.
Well, the great Shakespearean actor who finds himself doing voices.
To Paul Scheffler, and on that note, to someone who is currently celebrating a birthday today on behalf of GalaxyCon and everyone else, our audience, John, a very happy birthday. Our audience is what everybody's wishing you well, and they are also requesting King Ramsay.
Thank you. As a gift for you all, this is my appearance, and happy birthday to you all. Every day is a birthday.
Would you like us to serenade you?
Would you like to blow out your candle?
Well, I got stepped over, but there it was. I did King Ramses.
Did you?
Yeah.
My bad.
So someone to start this thing? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear John.
Well, the crazy guy.
Happy birthday to you.
Many more.
All right, John, blow it out. I'll help you out of this end.
Ready?
Yep.
2, 3. No. What comes after 2? What?
3.
Man,
Around a long time, sweetheart.
Now there's melted wax on my computer monitor. Yay. That's what I get. That's what I get for stepping on your line.
That's an $800 repair.
great.
Gentlemen and lady, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us here on the GalaxyCon virtual stage. Before we go, any final words for our audience?
Thank you. Thank you for your support.
For loving us. I mean, I'm assuming you love us, right? Okay.
And I just would like to, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I would just like to once again thank everyone, for being fans, for caring about this wonderful show that I could, in my small way, can make an impression on, and to help contribute to this giant of a show. And thank you, all of you out there who have made that possible. I also just want to say, please don't let fear completely overrun you in this world we live in.
Be playful and crazy.
Be playful and crazy.
Take a lesson from Mr. Dilworth. Be playful and crazy.
I would have advised.
We love you, John.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you, Johnny.
Good seeing you, John.
Thank you.
And I thank you all for joining us today. It has been my pleasure to serve you all today. Thank you for joining us on the GalaxyCon virtual stage. Thank you to our audience for joining us. And thank you for those great questions.
Everybody, goodbye.
Hope to see you all again soon. Until then, bye-bye, everyone. Take care, and please keep washing those hands.